on the other teams, and they still haven't made it pay. And I do really fear for Arsenal sort of next season and Mikel Arteta. That's a real bad one tonight.
Do you agree, Gary? Is it as serious as that moving forward for Arsenal? Just on one result?
It's a bad one. I remember United losing that Europa League final against Villarreal and thinking that it was more than just a defeat in the final. Those Arsenal players' body language at the end tells you that it's more than just a defeat. It's a big one for them, and I gave them the benefit of the doubt at half-time because I felt as though that was the only way they were going to win this game tonight, through a grind. I didn't think they would come out of that game on Thursday at Tottenham. That was really damaging. They were brutalised by that Tottenham fan base for 60 minutes. That's a young team that's inexperienced, that doesn't have this experience and character. I never fully trusted them to get into the top four, to be honest with you, all the way through, but I thought that they would come out second half and respond for a poor first half, and they would go and get that victory tonight, but they showed us nothing. And it tells us where they're at. They got schooled on Thursday at Tottenham. They've lacked experience tonight, I think, on and off the pitch, and it will cause them a big problem. That will cause them a big problem. Tottenham getting into the Champions League, they need it. Conte needs it. The financial and economic power it will give Tottenham over Arsenal next season. I do feel it's a really bad one. I agree with Jamie.
But it's not quite over yet, because we still have one more day left in this season for these two sides chasing Champions League football next season. These big rivals, Arsenal against Everton at home on the final day. Spurs have to go to Norwich.
They need a point.
They're absolutely fine.
They need a point.
I mean, that's it. I mean, Spurs are not losing from that position. Arsenal know right now. They know by the players sitting down on the pitch, the scenes we've just seen, the supporters in the away end, supporters watching at home. There isn't anybody in world football who believes Arsenal will be in the Champions League next season on the back of that. Absolutely no chance.
They've not recovered from Thursday night to come up to Newcastle tonight. It'll be a struggle for them to recover from tonight for Sunday. It really will. Honestly, either Everton will be safe and free, or Everton will be desperate and needing to win. And Arsenal, it is a problem for them that tonight, a real problem.
Did the performance surprise you, Jamie?
I thought they were awful. And I've been a big supporter of Mikel Arteta and this Arsenal team, because since I started at Sky, I am sick of saying the same things about Arsenal. I got bored of it myself. And I actually enjoyed this season, the young players I could get behind. I think the fan base almost got behind it. They could accept that they weren't going to be challenging for the biggest honours, but there was something building, something starting. I've just mentioned no European football, but that performance there was bad. I mean, that in some ways was bigger than a cup final for Arsenal. You know how important the Champions League is. I mean, I thought they were really poor first half. As I said, you said you give them the benefit of the doubt. But to play that poorly in the first half and then produce that in the second half, it wasn't acceptable. It really wasn't. It's not the result. It's the manner of the result. They were awful from minute one.
But Newcastle played a huge part in it as well, and it has been an extraordinary turnaround from them. And look where they are now, 12 points clear of the bottom three, as high as 12th, and still with a possibility of finishing in the top half, and this from a team that won just one of their first 18 games this season. It's been quite a turnaround in the second half of the campaign, hasn't it? Well, there was playoff drama as well tonight, and great scenes at the John Smith Stadium. Carlos Corberan's side have done it. They have edged Luton Town by 1-0. Jordan Rhodes with it. Hasn't scored too many this season, but an absolutely priceless one for his side tonight. Disappointment for Nathan Jones. The fairy tale for Luton Town is over, and Huddersfield head to the final, where they will face Nottingham Forest or Sheffield United at Wembley for a place in the Premier League. They finished 20th last season, Huddersfield. And we're not done in the Premier League just yet either. Tomorrow night at St Mary's, it's Liverpool, the FA Cup and Carabao Cup winners, still alive in two other competitions, including the Premier League, certainly if they go and get a result there tomorrow night. Thursday night, well, there are 3 games, and we'll be watching Aston Villa taking on Burnley. It's a big night for the Clarets. And there's also thrilling World War II drama for you. Das Boots continuing. All episodes available on Sky Atlantic. The celebrations will go long into the night at St James's Park this evening. 7 wins out of 8 in front of their own fans, but this one has been so costly for Arsenal. Reaction next.
Here's Joe Linton on the charm. A dagger to the heart of Arsenal. A huge boost for Tottenham Hotspur. Sean Longstaff. And Callum Wilson. Ramsdale gets there first. Gimenez! 2-0 for Newcastle. And does that kill off Arsenal's Champions League dream?
It always looked a tricky fixture, this one. Arsenal ran into a wall of noise at St James's Park tonight, and they have been badly bruised by it, beaten by 2-0. And now it's advantage, huge advantage, Spurs in the race for 4th. We said at the start of the day, the first goal was going to be crucial. Tell us about it, Jamie.
Well, it comes from a foul throw from Tavares as at left back, and as soon as I saw the throw in myself, I thought it was a foul throw. You just look at it now, it doesn't look great, but what I found interesting was just keep an eye on the referee, because the referee doesn't give this. The referee's looking straight at it. The throw is taken. Now, it's only... Let's just wait. The referee now blows, and you just see the reaction. I think it's Jason Tyndall, Eddie Howe's assistant, just at the bottom of the screen with the 4th official. Maybe it's the linesman. That's not a criticism. They are a team, you know, and they've got to give decisions, but it's not the referee who gives that. He's only blowing now. But the problem with the throw-in as well, for the few minutes before, Arsenal had just started to get a little bit of something going forward, and that just knocked the momentum as well, really, in that sort of period. They just weathered a little storm early on of the second half.
Yes,
and then
there's surrenders possession there, but there's still a lot for Newcastle to do here.
Of course, but listen, we're talking top-level football here. A foul throw is not acceptable. It's just not. But listen, it ends up being a goal through, obviously, Ben White. Brilliant from Joe Linton on this side. Listen, he has been a revelation. He really has. But I think an interesting thing is a couple of things Ben White's involved here. I'm just seeing that he just drops a little bit deeper than Gabriel. He just wants to step up. And the problem is, he's now in a foot race and he's not going to win it. So he's that yard or two behind. And that's one. I've been in that position. I think he's got to go for it. There's now a positional point that this frustrates me a lot. And I think a lot of teams do it now. Maybe it's the modern way. And I'm talking about centre-backs now. Now, for me, if that's me, the way I was brought up, forget the man, you fill that space. And then Gabriel comes over and he takes Callum Wilson. And the reason it frustrates me when I see it is because if Joel Linton has a look up, he will not make that run if he sees someone filling the space. Now, I've spoken about to different coaches, and some coaches like the centre-backs to be in the middle and not move, and they build from there. I don't. I really don't like it. And I just think, for me, Ben White has got to get across, fill that position. You don't want El Neni in the right-back position. But listen, again, from the Newcastle point of view, it's a great cross-in, and that's where I do have sympathy with Ben White.
Here? Does he have to lunge in like this?
I think because the cross isn't right out wide, he's almost on the edge of the box, so it's a lot closer to him. There's not that much time to think. You've got to make your decision so quickly. What are you going to go for it? And I think it's very difficult in that situation to actually leave it and not go for it as a defender. It really is.
What's your take on this, Gary?
I mean, I completely agree with Cara. I played centre-back a few times. You get across, it's that piece of string. You're all on a piece of string. You come across together. You don't leave that channel. But I've got another view on it from a full-back's point of view. Cedric did this against Tottenham the other night, all night long. He kept jumping forward to Sessegnon. You only jump forward if you think you can pressurise the ball, block the pass, intercept. Why'd you go forward there? Why does he run out so quickly? And look what he does there, Cedric. He goes out and he can never really affect it. He's running absolutely miles to get towards Sam Maximin. Now, I know he's got a problem with Sam Maximin, and to be fair, Tomiyasu did before, but then he then just steps off him. And I just think the art of back four players, your back four stays together. I agree with Cara completely. If Cedric goes, Ben White has to go. But to start with, if you can't get there, just keep your back four in, back four in tight, your back four together. The big switcher players come, they've all pressed over to one side for the throw-in. It's got switched over. Just stay. just stay. You all got to stay together. And Arsenal, to be fair, they were doing that against Tottenham the other night. Cedric was leaving, holding in that channel against Son, causing the problem. He's left White in that channel tonight. They tried to deal with it in a different way. Look, when I first came out of football, I played in a football club, to be fair, that if you made that mistake and you, to be fair, slid in like that, it was bad defending. If you gave an own goal away like that through a deflection like this, it was your fault. We hear a lot, commentators, co-commentators, fans, pundits say, oh, he's unlucky there, he had to block it. The reality is usually you've made a mistake in your positional sense not to be able to get to that first post. You think about John Terry, yourself, great defenders that always got to that near post area. I always remember John Terry getting to that near post area, always being cemented there so that pass couldn't go across the line. I just think Ben White there, he steps up initially and then he just can't get back in. John Terry, I don't think would have stepped up. He'd have gone back in. I'm not harping back to sort of yesteryear, but the best centre-halves, you see Diaz, you see Van Dijk, they're always blocking that ball at the near post.
Is there something in his actual feet? Because he goes with his left foot.
Do you think he looked fit tonight?
No. No, I think it was a tough game for him to come into. Honestly, such a massive game for him to come into. I don't think he was himself. I think balls were getting played in behind them all night. They never coped with it. Like I said, at half-time, I was giving them the benefit of the doubt because they got through a difficult period. But to be honest with you, they've been well beaten tonight in performance levels. They've been outfought. Newcastle have been a far better team all night. And look, that was just symptomatic of Arsenal.
What we haven't mentioned is the driving run of Joe Linton and the quality of the ball as well.
No, we have. I mean, I said before, he's been a revelation, and we talked at the top of the show. One of the reasons why Eddie Howe is on the list for Manager of the Year is the results, the atmosphere within this ground. That's to do with obviously Mike Ashley not being there as well. But putting Joe Linton into midfield, who'd have thought that this was a guy who's written up as a flop, a £40 million striker, never scored a goal. He's now going into midfield and he looks like a real player. In the summer, Newcastle are going to buy and spend and maybe bring players in, but you still think he'll be at the heartbeat of this team, and he's, credit to him, I must say that, but credit to Eddie Howe. It's not easy to turn a striker into a midfield player.
First goal crucial, critical. Was the second one the killer?
Yeah, it was, and Arsenal had made changes then. They'd gone to sort of a back three, and it was a bit all over the place. It really was towards the end, and I'm never quite sure about going to a back three. You think it's more offensive. I sometimes think stay as your back four and push your full-backs, or put wingers of full-backs, really, and in some ways you end up like at a back two. But it ends up with Xhaka left-sided centre-back, Cedric was on the right, and Ben White, again, doesn't really cover himself in glory. He makes a great block, really poor clearance, and then Ben White's just, with Callum Wilson, he just makes a decision just to go leave and go towards the ball when he's never going to get there. You talk about pressing at the wrong time. That's happened so often in these last sort of week or so with Arsenal, and then they're all over the place. And Guimaraes, we talk about Joe Linton. I mean, he's been absolutely brilliant. He looks like he's going to be a star in this Premier League, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle look really strong. That's the first thing to say. The massive change with Newcastle is the ownership. The crowd, honestly, before the game tonight, when you saw those flags, you knew Arsenal were going to have to cope with some atmosphere. Newcastle are at it like you wouldn't believe. The whole club's been freed in terms of sort of how they feel about it from a fan base point of view. And complete transformation. 7 out of the last 8 games at home, they've won. And
there are always going to be questions about their ownership, aren't they, Gary? But do you see a sort of togetherness all the way through the football club now?
You can never dismiss the ownership questions. There are always going to be issues with that. We can go there tonight. I don't think probably it's time to go there tonight. What it has done, though, beneath that, is that you saw Anton Deck in the director's box tonight. You saw the fans before the game. You saw the players on the pitch. I've been there now for 11 years. I've got sick of saying it going up to Newcastle. Experiencing what we experienced as a player going up there, where St James's Park was one of the most ferocious, hostile atmospheres, great atmospheres you could ever play in, to a really depressing, toxic stadium for I don't know how many years. Mike Ashley stunk that place out. Now, the current ownership have got different issues in respect of, whether they even should be in this league. But what it's done beneath that is give fans hope. It's give fans hope. Their investment in the team, the pride back in the city, the feeling on the pitch. And look, Newcastle is a major city. It's a fantastic place. And the north of England, to be fair, doesn't get investment very often as much as it should do. And a lot of clubs have been bought by southern owners, bought in the south. we need a strong Newcastle United. We need a strong Sunderland. We need a strong Middlesbrough. We need strong Leeds United and Sheffield Wednesdays and Nottingham Forest. These different sort of cities around the country. I've said it for many, many years. They're really important to sort of football in this country. So to see Newcastle back as it is tonight is brilliant. But we still, another day, we'll talk about the ownership.
Jamie, is this the rebirth of Newcastle United? And is this a team that maybe Arsenal have to worry about next season?
Yes, I was just going to say that. I think they're a real problem for Arsenal next season. We spoke about them trying to challenge for Europe next season, so they're going to be in the situation that maybe Arsenal were in this season, where they won't have European football, there'll be investment within the summer. And you think of Arsenal playing on Thursday nights and playing a lot of games Sunday, you know, that recovery period, going away in Europe as well. I think they could be a real problem for Arsenal next season. Not just Arsenal, lots of teams, but obviously it'll take them time before I think they're actually getting into the Champions League positions. That may be maybe 5 or 6 years away, but next season they've got to be looking to do what we mentioned at the top of the show, you know, what West Ham have done for the last couple of years. But that's what I talk about, where I feel it's a massive night in a bad way for Arsenal, because people will be looking at them for the reasons we've just mentioned. And I think they'll be one of those clubs and thinking, you know what, we're going to give them a run for our money next season.
The celebrations, I've had an eye on the pitch behind, have only just finished. The players have only just left the pitch, been doing a lap of honour tonight. We'll bring you some Newcastle reaction very shortly. And next, we'll hear from the Arsenal manager on a hugely damaging night for his football club. Mikel Arteta's thoughts on the way. Well, what a devastating night for Mikel Arteta and his Arsenal players. Newcastle victorious again at St James's Park tonight. Jubilant night for them. And the question is, what now for Arsenal? Because it looks like they've handed the major advantage to Spurs in the race for a top 4 finish. Their only hope now is they have to beat Everton and hope that Spurs lose at Norwich on the final day, because Spurs have such a superior goal difference. What has Mikel Arteta made of that? He's giving his thoughts to Patrick Davison.
Well, Mikel, in terms of result and performance, was that a really tough night for your team?
It was a really difficult night to swallow. Newcastle deserved to win the match comfortably. They were much better than us from the beginning to the last minute, and we had nothing in the game.
Can you explain the performance then?
They were much better in every department. They were much better in the duels, in the second balls. Every time they kicked the ball up, they could manage to do so. We were poor with the ball. We didn't defend the restarts of play or set piece in the way we have to do. We had nothing in the game.
But why poor in so many areas on such a big night? Why do you think?
Well, a lot of things happen as well during the night with the substitution that we have to make through injuries and everything, but it's not an excuse. Newcastle deserves to win the match from the beginning because they were much better than us in everything that a football match requires to be on top of that.
Your youth, your energy is usually such an asset, but tonight, rather than youthful, did it look like an inexperienced team, maybe not quite ready for that next step?
That's what we have to think about, but it's true that we could not cope tonight with the game that we have to play here.
Were you worried immediately in that match? Did it just not look right almost straight away?
Yeah. And we tried to change some things, and it didn't make it better. And we had some moments where we looked a little bit better, and the start of the second half was a tiny bit better, and we understood better what we had to do, but then the execution was so poor. The goals that we gave it away were extremely poor, and nothing. They deserve to win the match.
Yeah, you said both goals were poor. Does the first goal sum it up, really, coming from a foul throw?
We know that's where it starts.
Yeah. What have you said to your players in there?
What I'm saying here, that is extremely disappointed that Newcastle were 10 times better than us and fully deserved the match, and the performance is just nowhere near the level that we have to play. We want to play in the Champions League.
Are you shocked by it? You seem almost stunned by what you've seen.
I am incredibly disappointed. I don't know if the word is stunned. Obviously, when you see the team that we have at the moment, there is a lot of question mark in a lot of positions because the injuries and the suspension and everything that we had. But again, it's not an excuse. Today we're at the races.
Yeah. How many players out there were not 100%?
It's not about 100%. I think everybody, when he jumps on the pitch, cannot use the excuse to do anything else. And it's the players that we have. We have been playing like that in the last few weeks and trying to get through that. Players want to be on the pitch, which is the merit as well that you have to, the credit you have to give to the players. But today we weren't good enough.
Worst performance of the season?
I don't know. It's obviously a very painful one.
Yeah, when you won at Villa mid-March, 6 points clear of Spurs, it has been more erratic, the form since then. Why do you think that is?
Well, a lot of happened to the squad as well with the amount of injuries that we picked and the changes that we have to make. But still, it was in our hands. Today is not in our hands. We have to beat Everton and we have to wait for Norwich to beat the Spurs, and that's what we have to wait now.
Yeah. Do you still feel like there is a tiny chance?
There's always a chance in football, and you have to be there just in case that chance appears.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
But it feels like that chance is ebbing away. He looked shell-shocked, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Short answers, no excuses to be fair. He said they were well beaten, 10 times better. But it's a tough league. As a young manager, we've got great managers in this league with great experience, the likes of Conte, Tuchel, Klopp, Guardiola and others, a massive experience. And just at the end, right at the death, Arsenal have just fallen a little bit in terms of experience on and off the pitch. I think on Thursday night was a big one. I still think that tonight they were still recovering from Thursday night mentally and they haven't done. And yeah, he was honest in that interview, Mikel Arteta, very, very despondent, disappointed. Didn't really have anything to say other than the fact that Newcastle deserved to win, and he knows how big that is. How big that is for
This
him.
is an Arsenal team that finished 8th in the last 2 seasons, and maybe if you'd asked Arsenal fans right at the start of the campaign, maybe even Mikel Arteta finishing or challenging for Champions League football might have been seen as progress. I suppose the problem is the position they actually got themselves into, such a strong position. On March the 15th, after a good run of form, they were in the top 4. Look at the games in hand they had on all those sides below them. And one on Spurs as well, who they had a 6-point advantage on at that stage. The problem is what's happened next for them. Last 11 games have brought with them 6 defeats. How have they fallen short in the end, Jamie?
It's not just the 6 defeats, which is nowhere near good enough, 6 out of 11. It's the run that they go on. They almost can't get themselves out of defeats. I mentioned this before the game, they're a very streaky team. And when we did them on Monday Night Football against Crystal Palace, they've been on a good run. They lost that one and then went and lost the next 2. Lost against Tottenham, then win tonight. There's no sort of that reaction that you expect from a big team. Even at half-time tonight, you think that performance is so poor first half. You're expecting a reaction. You expect it from big teams to come out and show something. And that's what they are lacking. And to be honest, they're not in the top 4 teams in the league. I don't think anyone's ever believed that. They just had the thing of not playing European football. That gave them a slight advantage on other teams. So it's not like a massive underachievement. They probably are the 5th best team in the league this season, but it's just a massive opportunity dropped with the situation that they found themselves in.
So when they recover from this, if they do miss out on Champions League football, as is the expectation now, and they finished 5th, might they, in the cold light of day, say, OK, we lost big players at key moments, Partey and Tierney in recent weeks, perhaps the defence was not quite fit. But the other point is, this is the youngest team in the Premier League this season.
No,
Isn't 5th progress?
He said it before the game. This has never been a better chance. Tottenham haven't been unbelievable all season. Manchester United have been a disaster. Arsenal have got themselves into a great position. Every team's got injuries. Arsenal have had no European football. They've had more going for them than not going for them. No, there's no excuses. There can be no excuses, really. Spent a lot of money in the last couple of seasons as well, Arsenal. So, no, I don't think even Mikel Arteta's given any excuses. I don't think there's anything saying, yeah, we had more injuries than other teams. That's just not happened at all. No, there's nothing to say on it, really, than Arsenal have just fallen short. They always had to prove that they could go on and do it at the business end and that you could trust them. And there was always those doubts. And in the end, I feel like they're going to basically, the doubters are going to be proved right, that they're just not got enough.
Is it now, though, Jamie, we are going to find out really about Mikel Arteta, who, of course, already has a new contract at Arsenal?
I think it's going to be tough for him. I do. I think tonight is pivotal. I think this will be a game that will be looked back on when he eventually leaves the club, whether he goes on to get them in the Champions League or next season or he goes. I don't know. I mean, people criticise the contract maybe coming too early, but I think sometimes you have to put things in place at a club to maybe, if there's players in the summer, showing the commitment to the club or where the club's going. It doesn't really bother me that too much, really. You know, if you want to get rid of a manager, you get rid of him. But you mentioned before about what he did for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer using the Europa League final. Manchester United needed that as a springboard to sort of have that belief within that manager, because it's Arteta's first job. He hasn't really got that belief or that thing behind him that Conte has. If Conte goes through a bad time, he's won the league at Chelsea, he's done something at Inter Milan. They've got that thing where you think they know what they're doing. They've done it before. Arteta's never done it before. He hasn't. That's not a critic, that's just a fact. His first job at one of the biggest clubs in the country, and I think he's done all right. Won the FA Cup, young players, he's made big decisions, whether you agree with them or not. He's been brave at different times. But he needed that tonight. He really needed that tonight. And I really fear for him in terms of next season, because I think it'll be really tough. And if Arsenal are 7th or 8th at Christmas time in the Europa League and finding it tough, there will be massive pressure on his job.
The story of this season is not going to be that Arsenal have done well to finish 5th. It's going to be they've blown Champions League. And at the start of the season, obviously, we all would have said if Arsenal had finished 5th, thinking the type of seasons that we thought Manchester United may have had or other teams may have had, we'd have said 5th's a good season for Arsenal. But that's not the way it's going to pan out and not the way it's going to be played out in the media or by us because of the position that Arsenal got themselves into.
There will no doubt be some very disappointed people in that Arsenal dressing room. Here's Granit Xhaka with Patrick.
Just devastating. So difficult to find the right words after the game. We came here to show a different game, but from the first minute until the 90 minutes, we didn't deserve to be on the pitch today.
Why not? Why such a below par performance when it mattered so much?
I don't know. Can't explain to you why. We didn't do what the game plan was. Not listening to the coach, doing our things, and when you do your things, these games happened. What happened wasn't a disaster performance, and like this, you don't deserve to play Champions League. You didn't deserve even to play Europa League, and yeah, it's very hard to take it at the moment. And I don't know why we are not doing that what the coach is asking for us.
I mean, it's not an excuse, but was it the performance of a young team feeling the pressure maybe?
I don't know, if someone is not ready for this game, stay at home. As simple as it, no? Doesn't matter the age. You can be 30, you can be 35, you can be 10, you can be 18. If you're not ready for that, you're nervous, stay on the bench or stay at home, don't come here. We need people to have the balls, sorry to say that, to come here and to play, because we knew this game is maybe one of the most important games for us. But the performance like this is not to accept, and very, very, very sad for us, very, very disappointed, and I feel very, very sorry for the people that came over here to support us. I feel very, very sorry for the Arsenal supporters.
Maybe he didn't feel they were ready or something. Maybe I've got the wrong gist of the interview, but it was almost like an experienced player saying some of these people weren't ready. They weren't up for the fight.
I think
the intensity of it.
I think you heard him say, stay at home if you haven't got the balls. I think that's what he said. So he's obviously having a right dig at people within his dressing room. I mean, I don't know who he's having a go at there.
But he said the age doesn't matter.
So you think it was the young players?
Oh, he said the age doesn't matter.
I hope he wasn't having a go at those young players.
I don't think that was the interpretation.
I tell you what, he's been a disgrace at times, him over the last 4 or 5 years, getting sent off
recklessly. This is what happens when players come out and try and speak honestly.
No, but what I'm saying to you is he's left it up in the air there in terms of, it was just, I mean, seriously, just like a...
No, but when you've been involved in something like that, I love players being honest and straight, and I get that's what I'm trying to sort of give him credit for, that type of interview. But it's easy to do that sort of interview. He was part of that as well. You know, it's not like he's 2 or 3 players have let them down. That was like everybody was involved in that. I mean, if I was a player and I was on the way back on the coach when they're flying home, it's like, hang on, we were all part of that. It wasn't just like sort of 2 or 3 players let us down. He was as big a part of that as anybody. It was just it was a bad one tonight.
Let's move on to the winning dressing room, shall we? And a jubilant, no doubt, Eddie Howe with Patrick Davison.
Well, Eddie, was that a fitting finale to a brilliant second half of the season?
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was a brilliant all-round performance from us tonight. We were front foot. We played with the intensity that we want to. We never let up, and I think that's the most pleasing thing. 45 minutes can be, half-time can be a dangerous thing in a game like that, but we were as good, if not better, in the second half.
Was it an incredible atmosphere and performance, particularly when you factor in you'd done your main job for the season?
Yeah, it sometimes can be difficult to approach the game in the same way. You know, sport is a very delicate thing. It's all played in the brain, and we showed that we want to compete in every game, and I think that's the bare minimum that the supporters expect here. But today we approached the game in a brilliant manner. We were professional right to the end, and I thought we did the Premier League proud tonight. Was it the signature win you've wanted to go with? A body of work that you've created in the last 16, 17 games? Yeah, I think it was the one thing missing from us, that we hadn't beaten, as I said before the game, a top 6 team. And not only did we beat Arsenal tonight, I thought we deservedly beat them. We weren't hanging on. I thought we were the dominant team throughout, and players deserve a huge amount of credit. What was the plan? Why were you so dominant? I know you probably knew your team could win, thought your team could win, but I don't know if you expected to control it like you did. No, I think we wanted to high press Arsenal. We wanted to make the game difficult for them and not let them settle into any kind of rhythm, and that's easier said than done because they're a top quality team with outstanding players. So it was a real physical effort from the players tonight. But also I think for the first time in our recent performances, you've seen a team that can have the ball, is comfortable in possession and has a creativity to it, and that's probably the one thing that's been missing from us, but I thought it was evident, especially in the second half. And speaking to Callum Wilson, it sounds like part of the plan was to exploit one or two half-fit players for Arsenal, particularly Ben White coming back in. Well, we know they had a couple of injury concerns, so we wanted to make it a quick game. But I thought Arsenal, competed well and fought to try and win the game, and they really went for it in the second half, and that left spaces for us, which we exploited. How good was Callum Wilson coming back in after missing so much football? Yeah, I think it's a testament to his professionalism. He had the serious injury. He worked incredibly hard to get back to full fitness. You see the work that he puts in behind the scenes to produce that kind of performance, not just for 75 minutes, but for 90 minutes. We left him on because he was good and he wanted to stay on the pitch. And he deserves all the accolades tonight. So first 20 games compared to what you've done in the next 17, you're the most improved team in Premier League history. How have you done it, and how much have you enjoyed it? I've enjoyed it now it's finished. Well, not finished, but nearly finished. No, it's been a brilliant thing to be part of. I think we've done it through unity, team spirit, and a real work ethic from everyone connected with the club from the top down, and just a massive amount of credit to everyone connected with the club. What's the next step, Eddie? I mean, you've played City and Liverpool in the last couple of weeks, and that would probably be a step too far, but next season, can you compete with the likes of Arsenal over 38 games? I think we'll remain very calm in this moment because it's a brilliant win, but that's all it is. We have to improve, and we have to work incredibly hard to improve everything about the team during the summer and make sure we come back a stronger unit. It's a gigantic football club though, isn't it? It's a massive football club, and we have big ambitions, but I think my job is to try and focus on how we do it rather than talk. I think it's going to be next season will be the proof. Thank you, well done. Thank you.
Eddie Howe just trying to temper expectations a little, but since Christmas, only Spurs, Liverpool and Manchester City have taken more points than Newcastle, and you can see that Spurs have played 3 games more than Newcastle in that time. Really, it's Champions League form that they've shown over that period of time. The question is, can they do it over a full season? I suppose we'll find out next season. But what is this Eddie Howe Newcastle turning into? What are the characteristics that they're showing? I
think he's done a brilliant job, because when he signed those players in January, I mean, I still didn't think that it was a foregone conclusion that they'd stay up. I still didn't think it was a foregone conclusion that they'd come out of the relegation zone and do unbelievably well. To anywhere.
Aaron Nev. Oh no, it's Anton Deck.
No, I didn't think it wasn't a foregone conclusion that this was going to happen. Dan Burn, Target. I'm trying to think who else. Trippier got injured. Chris Wood. You're signing those players and you look at them, you're not thinking, they're not world stars, they're not even top Premier League players.
They're all first-team players, aren't they? They've gone in and made a difference straight away.
But I tell you what they are, they're good, solid characters. And Newcastle, to be fair, just needed that spine of experience and solidity and stability, and they got that through those players. He signed really well. It would have been easy to go for more what would be, You know, I remember the people who were being suggested, you know, you go and sign Dele Alli, go and sign Jesse Lingard. It was, you know, they were the players that were being linked with at one point. He didn't. He's gone for Wood. He's gone for Burn. He's gone for Target. He's gone for characters, to be fair, that have improved him from a point of view of experience. And I think, to be fair to Eddie Howe, he's done a really good job, because it would have been easy to get carried away with that budget in January. He's got the players that he wanted, but to get the points that he's got out of those players, honestly, it's a brilliant, brilliant job he's done in the last few months.
What takes them to the next level, Jamie? Yes, they have huge ambitions, but it doesn't sound like they're going to try and do it in a rush.
No, and they shouldn't. You've still got, obviously, FFP there as well. They've spent a few quid in January. But I think Eddie Howe, the way he's speaking there, he knows it's almost a building process. But, you know, you look at where the teams are sort of competing with in that second half of the season when these players have come in. And again, it's not being disrespectful to those players who've come in. They're just decent Premier League players. So I actually think Eddie Howe is still actually overachieving with the squad he's got. You know, when you think of the players that have come in, I really do believe that. I think it's a brilliant coaching job, certainly in that second half of the season. I think we were all together where you want Newcastle in the Premier League. You want to see that atmosphere, the flags, what they've created there, that connection right now between Eddie Howe, the team, and the supporters. And they are going to be, as I said before, a big problem for a lot of big teams next season.
One to watch perhaps next season in the Monday Night Football Awards. It has been a spectacular season of Premier League football. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And next, we'll be talking about who makes the Team of the Year, who's the Player of the Year, who has had the outstanding coaching performance. All to come with us.